Welcome back to Birds of a Feather. This is your Baltimore Sports Podcast. My name is Nathan Stroud, and today we're going to be recapping the Orioles series win over the San Francisco Giants. They win the series 2-1 over the Giants while winning the final 2 of 3 games. They went down 0-1 after the first game, but they locked in the last 2 games and won the last 2 games to win the series. The Orioles moved to 8-7 on the year, and we're just going to be discussing that series. I wasn't doing daily episodes after those games because some stuff was going on this past weekend, but everything is good now. The Orioles do actually play in like 2 hours from now, based on when I'm recording this episode. So later today, I should have another episode up talking about the result of today's game against the... Who do we play today? The Diamondbacks is who we play today. So we'll talk about the results of today's game later. But I do quickly want to go over some injury report news because, my God, were there a lot of injuries this past weekend for the Orioles and some very bizarre injuries as well. So we're going to go over that. We're going to go over the state of that whole situation. And then we're just going to kind of do a quick little recap over this past weekend series where the Orioles won 2-1 and are officially 8-7 on the year. They're above 500. If the season ended right now, they would be a wild card team. So it's always nice to be in the playoff conversation, and that is something that we couldn't really say with the Orioles last season. Even like right now compared to last year, where we are now compared to last year, the Orioles didn't start off the year well last year, and they never recovered. Like, the Orioles had a really rough start last season and were never able to recover. So, you know, we went down, like, we lost the first game of the series against San Francisco on Friday, and we were down 0-1 in the series, and we were back below 500. So it was one of those things where it was like, okay, are they going to like lay down and die this series and go multiple games below 500? Or are they going to try and fight back in the series and win? And they won the series, and you know they showed me a lot. I was a little bit worried after Friday's loss. I was actually very concerned after Friday's loss about some people on the Orioles and just the overall state of the team. And I was especially worried about someone named Pete Alonso, who has had a really, really rough start to this season and a really rough start to his Orioles career. But yesterday he did have 2 hits. He did bring in 2 runs. So hopefully yesterday's performance can add a little bit of confidence going into the future. And I'm hoping that this series against the Diamondbacks this week can really jumpstart some confidence for him. Because, again, we know how valuable he's supposed to be for this team. You know, he's always batting 3 or 4. He's always one of those big cleanup hitters. Did the same thing when he was in New York, so we're expecting big things out of him. We'll talk about him a little bit and how he performed in the first 2 games, but I quickly want to go over some injury news. So, discussing the current Orioles injured list. Right now there is 12 players on the IL. I think that is tied for most in the MLB. Actually, I think the Astros have 13 or 14 players on the injury list right now, so I think the Orioles are second right now in total, like, players on injured list, which is very similar to last season. And it was also very similar with the Astros because the Astros also were the most injured team in baseball last year. So the Astros and Orioles dealt with injuries last year, and they're back to, both of those teams are back to dealing with injuries this year. So something about that orange color just isn't really sitting right with the baseball gods, it seems. So, going over the Orioles injury list, Tyler O'Neill got added to the injury list this weekend from a concussion. But what's weird about this injury is that he actually was, I think it was on Thursday of last week, he got dehydrated and he actually fainted on the day off last week. So, a very scary situation for Tyler O'Neill. I'm glad that he's good, but either he hit his head on something going down, or he hit his head on the wall, or him fainting caused some sort of head problem and concussion. I don't know exactly what it is, but as a result of the fainting situation on Thursday, Tyler O'Neill is now on the 7-day concussion list. So not anything too crazy. Obviously, it's kind of a crazy story, and obviously I'm glad that Tyler O'Neill is good because that is a very scary situation when someone faints. So I'm glad that he's doing good, but he's on the 7-day concussion list. Craig Albernes said that this shouldn't be anything longer. This is just precautionary because, again, he was dealing with some stuff. So Tyler O'Neill should be back after the 7 days. Very much the same thing with Adley Rutschman, who is on the IL. This one really does stink because Adley was off to such a great start this year. He was really looking to have a bounce back year, which he still can have. Obviously, this injury isn't going to ruin everything. At least I hope it doesn't. But Adley actually rolled his ankle or injured his ankle when he was running base pads the other day before Friday's game. And before Friday's game, they put him on the injury list. Like before Friday night's game, they put him on the injury list, which was very scary. It was very bizarre. It was very weird. But Adley did get hurt. 10-day IL. They said that the MRI confirmed that it wasn't anything too serious, so it's not anything bad for Adley. They said it's just like a little situation. Again, precautionary things. It's early in the year. You don't want to, overdo anything. So Adley is on the IL. Very similar to Tyler O'Neill, where it's just kind of precautionary things. Adley should be back in the next, 2 weeks or so. So Samuel Basallo is going to have a lot of duties to do and a lot of responsibility as well. And yesterday, Basallo actually did homer in yesterday's game, so he's already, I guess if you can say there's anything good about this Adley situation, is that it's going to give Samuel Basallo the opportunity to really be the catcher and to not only be better with his bat and get more at-bats and get more opportunities, but also get more opportunities behind the plate and being a catcher. So Samuel Basallo is going to have a big responsibility these next couple of weeks. Hopefully Adley is good. Hopefully he'll be back soon. And then obviously Jackson Holliday is still on here. The only update we've heard from him is that he's not going to play this week. They asked Craig Alvarez if he's going to play. He said no. Jackson Holliday right now in AAA is currently batting like a 184 right now. So he's not having a great start to his AAA session. But you do have to take into account Jackson Holliday didn't have a spring training. Like, he didn't have a spring training. Like, he was around the team and with his teammates and stuff, but he was still recovering from that hamate bone injury. Very similar, pretty much the exact same surgery that Corbin Carroll and Francisco Lindor had. And both of those guys were on the opening day roster. So, and they all got the injury at like the same time. So it's a little bit concerning why Jackson Holliday is still in AAA. He's probably healthy enough to come back. I don't think it has anything to do with the health thing. I think that he is healthy enough to come back and play, but I just don't think that they like what they've seen from him in AAA right now, and they kind of want to make sure that he gets back on track there before we even consider calling him up. Because again, guys, the Orioles are trying to win games. Like, this isn't a tanking season. They have expectations. They want to make the playoffs. They want to potentially go on a World Series run, and they don't want to call up Jackson Holliday, even though he's healthy. They don't want to call him up just because he's healthy. They want to call him up whenever he's actually ready, whenever he's actually been impressing people in AAA, whenever they feel like he's ready to come back with his quality of at-bats in AAA. So hopefully Jackson will be back here in the next couple of weeks. My guess would be he comes back similar to when Adley comes back, so that would be cool to get both of those guys back. Heston Kjerstad's still dealing with that injury. Andrew Kittredge, I'm hoping can come back soon. Even though the bullpen for the Orioles has been actually surprisingly very good. You have guys like Anthony Nunez and Rico Garcia and Ryan Helsley, and these guys playing really, really good baseball out of the bullpen. Getting Andrew Kittredge, who is usually the setup man, getting him back obviously is going to be good. Keegan Aiken coming back again. But the bullpen has honestly been like the best thing for the Orioles this year has been their bullpen. Their starting pitchers has been kind of a disaster other than Trevor Rogers. The lineup and the offense is starting to figure it out, starting to play really good. I think the offense right now is top 6 in average, but they're like 22nd in runs scored. So it's all about just converting runners on base and converting runners in scoring position. That was the problem last year as well. Jordan Westberg, we're not going to see for a while. Colin Selby, whatever. So, in terms of the injured list, again, Tyler O'Neill, Adley Rutschman, those guys popped up on the injury list. Hopefully, they're going to be back soon. It doesn't seem to be anything too serious. Ryan Mountcastle also is on the injured list because he rolled his ankle running bases, so we're not going to have Ryan Mountcastle either. So, it's a very, very weird situation. It's still very early in the year, so at least these injuries aren't going to be later. But you like to try and get off to an early start. You try and get off to an as early start as you possibly can. Try and winning as many games as you possibly can early because, again, you don't want to have to try and come back late. You want to be in a good position all year. So hopefully the Orioles can just keep winning games, be in a good spot, because if they're in a good position and have a good record by the time that Jackson comes back, Adley comes back, Tyler comes back, Jordan comes back, all these guys come back, if they're in a good spot then I think that they will be in a great spot when these guys come back. So that's just kind of what the vibes are right now with the injuries. And now we're going to do some super quick recaps over the Giants and Orioles series, where the Orioles won the series 2-1, as you can see right there if you're watching on YouTube. So going over game 1 in this series, the offense was pretty much dead. They were 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position, which obviously is not great. But the big thing is that Shane Baz didn't really have a great start, went 5 innings, gave up 3 runs. Not the worst start in the entire world, but again, when you get to the bullpen, things can get a little bit sticky. So Shane Baz did get credited the loss here. 5 innings, 3 runs, gave up 9 hits and 2 walks. It was a little bit ugly for Shane. Some unluckiness as well. The defense for the Orioles hasn't necessarily been great, especially in the outfield. But going over to the pitching, Yner Cano did good, and then Nick Raquette, he's a pitcher that we traded from the Cardinals, and he made his Oriole debut on Friday, and he was awful. 1 inning, 3 runs. It was a complete disaster. Gave up a 3-run homer to Jung-Hoo Lee. Just kind of a disaster. A very, very rough start for Nick Raquette. I'm not sure how many more opportunities he's going to get out of the Orioles bullpen. I assume he's going to get more opportunities to see like where he lies, but not a great debut for him, sitting at a 27 ERA. But Shane Baz played okay. Again, the big thing with starting pitchers is getting you through innings. If he was able to go 6 innings instead of 5, it would have looked a lot better. But 5 innings, 3 runs, you can still win a game off of that. But Nick Raquette giving up the 3-run homer was not great. And the Orioles offense was pretty stagnant the entire game. There's only 4 or 5 guys who actually contributed with hits. Gunnar Henderson had a 2-run homer in the 9th inning. Taylor Ward had a hit. Adley went 3 for 5, and then obviously the very next day he got injured, which sucks. Leody Taveras has been one of the best Orioles hitters, and then Jeremiah Jackson also got a hit. Nobody else this game got a hit. But going over to game 2, games 2 and 3, we actually won by the exact same score, which was kind of funny. But going over to game 2, the Orioles won 6-2 over the Giants in game 2. Gunnar Henderson had a solo home run in this game, where he actually currently still has the lead for the most home. Actually, no, he's second right now. But whenever Gunnar hit his 6th home run on Saturday, he actually was leading Major League Baseball at the time. Then Yordan Alvarez hit a home run. I think Jordan Walker also hit a home run later that night. But for a small moment, for maybe a 45-minute time period, Gunnar Henderson was the pure standalone home run leader in the MLB. But he's still second. He's still having a great start to the season. He had a solo home run in this game. Ryan Mountcastle got a hit. Obviously, he had a double in this game where he eventually got hurt running the bases. Dylan Beavers had a hit and 2 runs. Colton Cowser had a 2-hit game on Saturday. Kobe Mayo brought in 2 runs with a single. And then Jeremiah Jackson went 3 for 4 with a home run in this game. So Jeremiah Jackson starting to really cook, starting to do really well. And then going over, we're going to go back really quickly. Chris Bassett got the start on Saturday. And he did okay. Again, it wasn't anything great. He was only able to get through 4.2 innings, gave up 7 hits, 1 walk, but only 1 run across those 4.2 innings. So again, it's been a really rough start for Chris Bassett. He hasn't actually gotten through 5 innings once this year, so that is really concerning. But technically Saturday was his best start because he only gave up 1 run, so it could have been a lot worse. But he was able to kind of, manage through the difficulty on the base pads and the traffic on the base pads. So he was able to get through that, gave up only 1 run. Grant Wolfram in the bullpen. The bullpen was incredible this game. Grant Wolfram, Yner Cano, Rico Garcia, Anthony Nunez, and Ryan Helsley, none of those guys gave up a run after Chris Bassett left in the 5th. So shout out to them. And then going over to the game yesterday where the Orioles also won 6-2. The offense had 11 hits. They scored 6 runs. Gunnar Henderson 1 for 5. Taylor Ward 2 for 4 with 2 runs. Pete Alonso 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. Samuel Basayo 1 for 3 with a 2-run homer, which you love to see. It was a nice little opposite field bomb. Leody Taveras 2 for 4. Leody Taveras currently is batting a .364 for the Orioles, by the way. We're trying to give him more and more opportunities because he's very much reminding me of Ramon Laureano from last year, where Ramon Laureano was supposed to be a rotational veteran outfielder, and then he ended up actually really producing for us. We pretty much were forced to give him more at-bats, and then we traded him at the deadline because things weren't going well. But he was one of our best hitters, and he ended up being a really clutch Padres hitter later in that year. So, and he's also having a good year this year. But Leody Taveras, he has been producing in the time that he's gotten for the Orioles throughout this first couple weeks of the season. He was 2 for 4 yesterday. He had a hit the day before. He's batting a .364 right now, and I'm pretty sure he's back in the lineup again today. So we're going to keep playing Leody at center field. The outfield situation is a little bit weird, obviously, with Tyler O'Neill now gone for right now. The outfield right now is pretty much looking like Taylor Ward, Colton Cowser, Leody Taveras, which is fine. And if this works, I mean, you got to keep running with it. And if Leody Taveras is going to keep playing great baseball and going to keep hitting well, then you got to keep playing him. So shout out to Leody Taveras. He's been playing great. An unexpected, someone who I just didn't think was going to contribute much. And it was the exact same thing with Ramon Laureano last year. So looks like history is repeating itself in that way. Colton Cowser went 1 for 3 with an RBI yesterday. Kobe Mayo went 1 for 4 with an RBI as well. And then Jeremiah Jackson went 1 for 4 as well. So pretty much everyone on the team got a hit except for Dylan Beavers. And you want to see Dylan Beavers get going and do his thing. I mean, he's not playing horrible. I mean, he's a .250 average. It's not horrible. I mean, you look at some of the averages of some of these guys. More importantly, like Pete Alonso has a .190 average. Samuel Basayo has a .150 average. Kobe Mayo has a .158 average. So not great averages for those three guys, even though Samuel Basayo is technically second in home runs on the team with 2, which is kind of funny because he's just been batting so low. But again, he's going to have opportunities, a lot more opportunities now that Adley is hurt. But going over to the pitching side of things, Cade Povich got his first win of the year. It was actually his birthday yesterday as well, and he had a gem of a start on his birthday. He was incredible. He's actually been pretty good in his appearance. Well, no, he's been pretty decent in his appearances he's had this year. I mean, he gave up 2 runs in 5.2 innings in his first start, and then he gave up 1 run in 6.2 innings yesterday. And 6.2 innings is the second longest any Orioles gone this season. So 6.2 innings, 5 hits, no walks, 1 run, 5 strikeouts. I think he was carrying a no-hitter until the 5th inning. So Cade Povich was incredible. He got the win yesterday, very much deserved. But the bad news is that he actually just got sent down to AAA today because we're calling up Dean Kramer from AAA, and he's actually going to be starting today. So obviously the Orioles with their 5th pitcher slot, it's kind of a rotational thing, either Dean Kramer or Cade Povich, and that's just kind of like what it is right now. Obviously the rotation as it stands is Trevor Rogers, Kyle Bradish, Shane Baz, Chris Bassett, and then either a mix of Cade Povich and Dean Kramer, or both. Maybe we'll just move to a 6-man rotation, have Dean Kramer and Cade Povich at the end of the rotation, and then obviously Rogers, Bradish, Baz, Bassett, and all those guys. So with the Eflin injury, we're just going to kind of be experimenting with that 5-6 starter slot. So Cade Povich, he was incredible. Anthony Nunez and the bullpen was incredible as well. The bullpen's been playing very, very, very well, so I'm hoping they can keep it up. We've got some gems in the bullpen like Anthony Nunez and Rico Garcia. They've looked really good. On offense, you got some gems like Leody Taveras, and Taylor Ward's obviously been doing his thing. Pete Alonso, I'm hoping yesterday's game can kind of start something for him. Gunner's been great. Jeremiah Jackson's been great as well. So shout out to these guys. They're playing again today. We can actually go quickly look at their game today. Yeah, they're playing like an hour and a half. We got Dean Kramer versus Ryan Nelson. Dean Kramer making his first start of the season. Obviously, he was optioned to AAA in spring training because we were going to run a 5-man rotation. Dean Kramer is not going to come out of the bullpen. So when you had Eflin, Bradish, Baz, Bassett, and Rogers, you're not going to have just an extra 6 starter sitting there. So we had Dean Kramer in AAA. We're calling him up today. It looks like we're going back to maybe a 5/6-man rotation. But Dean Kramer making his start today, which is going to be interesting to say the least. I'm not going to have many comments on that. We'll see how he does. I'm hoping he can get us the win. But looking at the Baltimore lineup for today, we got Gunnar leading off, then Taylor Ward, then Pete Alonso, then Basayo, then Beavers, then Tavares, then Cowser, then Jackson, then Alexander. So this is probably the best lineup that we can make right now with the guys available. Obviously, no Adley, no Jordan, no Jackson, no Tyler O'Neill. But this lineup I do like. I like getting Jeremiah Jackson and Blaze Alexander some reps because they've both been great at second and third base defensively. And hopefully the Orioles can go out and win. You know, Ryan Nelson has a 4.2 ERA in 2 starts this year, or maybe in 3 starts. He's doing his thing. I think tomorrow we're going to have Rogers on the mound. Yeah, Rogers versus Merrill Kelly. And then on Wednesday, it's going to be Bradish versus Eduardo Rodriguez. So hopefully the Orioles can get the win today. They can go up 1-0 in this series and then obviously take one of the next 2 or the next 2 games to win/sweep the series. So hopefully they can get the win today. They just got to keep going, keep this streak going. They're 8-7. I want to, maybe go on a little bit of a win streak and go on a little bit of a run. They're doing their thing right now. They've won 5 of their last 6 games, so they're on fire right now. The boys are on fire. They were on a little bit of a, going back to the beginning of the season. Obviously, you win the series versus the Twins, then you lose the series to the Rangers, then you get swept by the Pirates, then you sweep the White Sox, and then you just beat the Giants 2 out of 3. So hopefully they can keep these series wins going, keep stacking these on, stack on the series wins. Then obviously in the next couple of weeks, if they can keep doing that, they'll have a lot better record. So again, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll see you guys later tonight. You have a great day. Go O's, go Ravens, and I'll see y'all later. Peace out.